Hey guys, it's time to check out the TCG tickers. These are tickers that are voted on by members of our community. Every day we spend a lot of time analyzing stocks, and these are a few that I decided to do a video on. So we're going to check out BA, ROKU, Work, NKLA, and Costco today. We're going to start with BA. On the daily time frame, BA is giving us a little bit of back and forth action, so there's not a lot of clarity. And when we have a chart time frame that's not giving us clarity, we either have to zoom in or zoom out to find the first time frame that shows us with a little sense of reason what the heck's going on. So on the daily time frame for BA, I'm not seeing that. We have a big range between our last high and our last low, and currently we're seeing 2 red days, so we have a bearish momentum, but based on today's candlestick, that seems to be slowing a little bit because we have that tightening range. So what I want to do is figure out what this tightening range is all about, and is it in a reversal pattern? And if it is in a reversal pattern, what signs are we going to look for upside movement? So we're going to go to the 4-hour time frame, and on the 4-hour time frame, we can see that we had our big drop. We've established a trend change with a high, a higher low, higher high, higher low, and now the bulls are trying to decide, is this going to be the higher low, and are we going to resume the uptrend? So what I'm going to be watching for is bulls to stay above 190 psychological. That was the low of our pre-market or after hours on July 16th, and I want to get a little bit more detail, figure out what's going on inside this block of action. What I can tell from the 4-hour time frame is that there is an overall tightening range. We are seeing our highs lower and our lows relatively contained. So if we go to the hourly time frame, we can take a closer look at that action. And what we can start to do is really reading between the lines, but starting to get a sense for maybe there's some sort of consolidation style wedge forming up. A beautiful wedge, a perfect wedge, has multiple touches of confirmation and support and resistance, and you can see that ping pong action really containing the price action. When we don't have that, but we still have an overall tightening range, what we can do is start to speculate on that price action and pretend that there's a magical wedge here. In this case, in the 50-minute time frame, that doesn't line up too bad. I would actually draw that a little differently, something like this. Ultimately, we are only concerned with a break. If we're in a long position, we want a break of this triangle or the resistance from this wedge. And if I'm going to try to determine where are we on a wedge on the 50-minute time frame, it doesn't really pan out here, does it? If I go to the hourly time frame, we can see that we're getting higher lows. So we don't have that perfect wedge, but what we do have is a nice resistance line, and we have a couple of key levels that are being set up for us by the bulls, defending these higher lows with that 190 key level holding so far. So tomorrow, what I would be looking for would be a bull break outside of this pattern. Likely this is going to happen in our after hours, so we can see that the bulls are going to consistently show us some strength above this trend line, break the high of the 1030 candlestick, which is currently at 196.01. I will consider that to be a solid bull break outside of this tightening range, and on the hourly time frame, that will give us a higher high into a higher low and get us outside of what should become this 4-hour higher lows low. If all of that works out, then we will be looking for upside with a high over top of 209.75 for continuation into 4-hour higher highs. Now, if that doesn't work out and we lose 190, which is just as possible, we have to play all sorts of angles and be prepared for all scenarios. We have a tiny little bit of support in the area of 189, but ultimately we're looking for major support in the area of 176. Now, if we throw our support line down there, grab that number, jump back to the 4-hour time frame, we can see that that is the last area of the 4-hour higher low. That is a must hold, and if bulls can do it and hold that area, that will become our new 4-hour higher low, assuming that they get a nice bull follow through after that. So we haven't locked in the 190 level as our key 4-hour higher low yet. We're setting up for an attempt to do that. It's really up to the bulls at this point what they're going to pull off here in the after hours and pre-market session. So tomorrow morning should be interesting, and a lot of our decisions will be based on where we are in relation to that 15-minute tightening range. ROKU on the daily time frame. Overall daily downtrend, we broke our highs, higher low, higher high, so we had that daily trend change to the bulls. Now we're seeing a big volume breakout, our first red day following that move, and the question is, what is happening now? What is the most likely outcome? If we go to the 4 hours, we can see that we are in a 4-hour uptrend. This is how we're getting our little daily uptrend as well. And what we're going to be looking for is a higher high and a continuation of this pattern. Is it happening now? Well, that's the question. So here's our high, higher low, higher high, higher low, higher high. Now we need that higher low to continue. If we go to the hourly time frame, we can see that ROKU is currently holding our EMA 26 support. We haven't locked in our hourly higher low yet. So if we are anticipating a 4-hour reversal here, and to see more strength than I anticipate on the hourly bulls, we would need to see them hold this low, and we would need to see them over top of our EMA 12 resistance, and then we were looking for our first resistance at 123.10. What that would look like would be this low coming up, breaking this resistance, and changing this hourly downtrend, or actually a 15-minute downtrend, and resuming that 4-hour uptrend. If they're unable to do that, what we would be looking for would be a 5-minute oversold bounce, or a 5-minute oversold condition, I should say. We would see a big drop. Maybe that would even work out better on the 15. Let's take a closer look. So here is our low. What we would want to see would be a break of that low, 115.78. Then we'd go to the 15-minute time frame. And you know, we wouldn't be too far from oversold positions, but what we would be trying to do at that point, if this is not going to be the area of our reversal on the 4-hour, starting here, we need to start watching for 5 and 15-minute trend changes, looking for that strength and looking for the potential, all under the premise that we are looking for a 4-hour higher low. Is it here yet? Maybe not, maybe it is, but ultimately we haven't even seen a 15-minute trend change, and that is what we are trying to identify as that first area of strength to lock in that 4-hour higher low. WORK. On the daily time frame, WORK is giving us a little bit of chop. We can see this chop manifested in the form of these tightening ranges between our EMAs. When our EMAs are trending relatively sideways, it means we are in a lack of trend. And that is not very helpful for when we're making trend-based decisions. On the 4-hour time frame, we can see that we have a little bit of chop as well. We had a nice hourly downtrend, a slight hourly uptrend, a resumption, and now we are in an hourly uptrend with a little bit of resistance right up here at 33.60. So if we go to the hourly time frame, we can see how that hourly trend is going to give us that more concise clarity that we need. So here's our low, our high. We scrape EMA 12, and we hold EMA 26 and EMA 12, currently testing our EMA 26 now. So there's not a ton of clarity other than the fact that we have this nice hourly trend. What we're going to do is focus on the most relevant data that we have, given the fact that we see this big break on the daily time frame, now consolidating. The question is, are we going to consolidate well and hold and see strength at the EMA 26 is really the last support level that we have before we start getting into these trend change levels, in which case we'd be looking for a little bit of support at 30.60, and then below that there is some here at 31.82. Ultimately, what we want to do is see bulls hold 32.21, go to the 15-minute time frame, see a 15-minute trend change, or even on the 5-minute time frame, see that 5-minute trend change, and show us that they are interested in holding this position, marking it in as an hourly higher low, and continuing the hourly trend change. Failure to do that, then we're just looking for another hourly trend to the downside. NKLA. So this is the opposite of clarity, and we can see that on the daily time frame. We have our big run up, we run right back down, and now we're at a point where we're consolidating, but we're doing it without really a sense of direction. And we really see that manifest because we've got these big breakouts, I should say, where we get higher highs and the price just collapses right back down. We build a base of support, we see bears jump through and push the price, only to have the bulls answer back to set new highs without real much follow through as well. So right now on the 4-hour time frame, it's all about this EMA 26. If we go to the hourly time frame, we can see where we get into these situations where we have bear breaks without much follow through, and we can see how tight our EMA 12 is to our EMA 26. They are not really trending well. There's not a lot of useful directional information on the hourly time frame. So what we have to do is we either play very, very short-term breaks on the 2 and 5-minute time frames, or we need to allow the 4-hour time frame to develop into something more definitive, or simply just try to chart out the most likely outcome for the hourly time frame and play inside this trend. So what we can do is just create a channel that contains as much data as possible and play the, what was the term taught to me the other day? I always called it just a assumed channel, but I believe one of our friends in TheChartGuys called it assumed parallelity. I like that, but I can't say it. We have an hourly channel, a real lack of direction, but these are the ranges that I'd be watching. So you can play inside the channel here if you wanted to. What I would be doing is waiting for us to break outside this channel, pick a direction based on the larger time frames as the most likely outcome, and play the break. Intra-pattern here is not going to give us a lot of clarity, but it's really all we have. On the 15-minute time frame, what we're going to be looking for would be a trend change. We needed bulls to break over 67.19 to stay inside this pattern. The most likely outcome would be a lower high under 67.19, hold this pattern, to a new higher high, and then we would look for an hourly play inside the channel up to resistance in the area of $76. Costco. So Costco is a fun one. I haven't looked at this chart yet, but sometimes that is fun. Costco on the daily time frame, almost an inside bar. So we had 1, 2, 3 days to the downside. Bulls have answered back, gapped up into a doji, and now we're seeing a little bit of follow through. So if this is going to be a drop, a bounce into consolidation, we want to know what type of consolidation this is. If this is reversal consolidation, then we're going to have a higher low on one of the sub time frames, and that can be useful for timing these entries. So if we go to the 4-hour time frame, we start to look for some clarity. Are we seeing anything? No, but we are seeing resistance at our EMA 26. We're seeing a little bit of a tightening range, and we're seeing lower lows with no follow through. 2 of those are components of a bull flag. So that is useful information for us to know. What we're going to need to do to get above and out of this pattern is going to need to see an uptick in bull volume. And ultimately, we're going to need to see a break over top of 302.01 resistance. There is a little bit more resistance above that at 302.74. But if we break 302.01, I think we'll be well on our way to breaking that second resistance as well. Hourly time frame, and this is what I like to see. We are seeing contained action. We're seeing lower highs and lower lows without much follow through. So this so far is setting up for a nice possible 4-hour bull flag. What we're going to need to see early on is going to be a good solid move. I'd love to see a break of today's high day, 301.45, break of 302 psychological. And at that point, I think we will have locked in our hourly higher low, our 4-hour higher low, and be well on our way to testing our EMA 12 and EMA 26 resistances on the daily time frame. That would be a nice consolidation after our 2 stronger days of bull volume into 1 day of bearish consolidation in the form of that 4-hour bull flag. So we'll have to see what happens tomorrow. I always like doing post analysis. I keep these charts open and watch for the day, and sometimes I'd like to do a review video, but usually we cover new tickers. But I am always more interested in being correct and learning from my mistakes, so it is fun to follow up. Anyway, if you guys have questions about this analysis or anything to do with technical analysis at all, send me an email, info@TheChartGuys.com, post a comment in the questions, and I'll do my best to answer your questions. And if you want to become a part of the greatest thing that I've ever been a part of, come check out TheChartGuys.com.